We all differ in thought, awareness and motivation, and each of us has stronger and weaker areas. We tend to judge others according to how they compare with us in our strong areas, not realizing that they may perform better than us in our weaker areas. For example, if you are a clever but emotionally cold person, you tend to think being clever is important, but being emotionally warm is not. You may therefore undervalue somebody who is less clever but emotionally warm. But in a team situation, you would be better to particularly value such a person because they bring skills to the team which you lack. So, how do we recognize our own and others' strengths and weaknesses? We start by understanding their personality. The terms temperament and personality type refer to a person's underlying nature rather than their behavior or assumed persona. There are two broad categories of personality classifications: type theories and trait theories. Type theories take characteristics like extroversion and simplify them into two categories: extrovert or introvert. Individuals are classified as one or the other, rather than placing them on a continuous spectrum. Trait theories place people somewhere along a spectrum, rather than in one of two categories. The study of personality type is an ancient one. It was an aspect of the theory often ascribed to Hippocrates, which held that the human body was composed of 4 basic substances, called humours. These humours were associated with the dichotomies of hot and cold, and wet and dry. Blood was hot and wet. Yellow bile was hot and dry. Phlegm was cold and wet, and black bile was cold and dry. In healthy people, these were in balance. In disease, they were out of balance. Fever and sweating were evidence of an excess of blood, hence the medical profession's obsession at that time with bloodletting. After Hippocrates, Galen developed this into a theory of 4 basic temperament traits, each one governed by one of the humours. In this theory, blood promotes a sanguine temperament which is extrovert, friendly, talkative, sociable and passionate, but has a tendency towards exaggeration and unreliable reporting. Phlegm promotes a phlegmatic temperament, which is content, kind and affectionate, but is accepting rather than driven and motivated. Yellow bile promotes a choleric temperament, which is ambitious, motivated and energetic, but quick to anger and irritable. Black bile promotes a melancholic temperament, which is thoughtful, quiet and creative, but given to nervousness, anxiety and depression. Unlike the 4 humours theory of physiology and disease, aspects of the theory that relate to temperament have survived to the present day. Their influence can be seen in current personality classification schemes. Personality typing and associated management consultancy services have become a big industry, and bold claims are made, often poorly justified, of how such schemes can optimize personnel deployment. Here, we are not concerned with long-term extrapolation or optimal recruitment, but with how other people have different personalities from ourselves and have viewpoints that are correspondingly different. And while different, they may be equally reasonable. Good teams capitalize on these differences, ensuring that the roles people have in teams play to their particular strengths. One of the simplest and best-known systems was not devised by psychologists, but by 2 cardiologists, Friedman and Rosenman, who studied a link between behavior and the risk of coronary artery disease. They shared a cardiology practice in San Francisco in the 1950s and first made the observation when their waiting room chairs needed reupholstering. The pattern of wear was not typical, being worst at the front edges of the chair's arms and seats rather than further back. The worn chairs were used by patients with coronary artery disease, who tended to sit on the edge of the seat and often jumped up to ask how much longer they were going to have to wait. They divided people into two groups. Type A's are driven and irritable, and Type B's are placid and calm. They estimated that Type A's had roughly twice the risk of developing coronary artery disease than Type B's. This finding is controversial, but the phrase Type A personality is now commonly understood to be someone who tends to be aggressive, competitive, ambitious, impatient, and highly strung. Type B's are the opposite: patient, passive, and accepting.